ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music, and more.
I wasn't being myself. I wasn't going out there and making plays that I know how to do. I wasn't being aggressive. I was just trying to fit in kind of and, play my role. And, that's not going to get you anywhere. It's going to get you out of the league if you keep doing that. So I just went in with a different mindset change of knowing I'm a way better player than what I showed my first 2 years. And I put in the work this summer.
22-year-old Dyson Daniels, what he's talking about right there is the way he changed his mindset after he was traded from his first NBA team. Quit trying to fit in, started showing out. You know what? Success followed pretty quickly at Atlanta. Now, as this season launches, he has just joined Josh Giddey as an Australian who's going to earn $100 million over the next 4 years, thanks to a huge new deal with the Atlanta Hawks. Daniels and Giddey are the Australian headline acts of season 25-26. We're discussing the pair, but also the other storylines you're going to need to know on day one of the NBA season. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily. Kane Pitman is Australia's man on the ground for ESPN in the USA, covering the NBA. Kane, the NBA season starts today, Wednesday in Australia. There are 14 Australians mixing it with the best in the world, and we've now got two players on $100 million deals, with Atlanta's Dyson Daniels joining Chicago's Josh Giddey. And that feels kind of huge and significant, but is that maybe just the reality of the global nature of the league that these two guys are playing in?
Yeah, well, firstly, mate, it's always good to catch up with you. And I like this chat that we have at the start of the season because it did feel like it was a quick off season, but now we're here at the start of the regular season again. And it is pretty timely because very early on Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. was the deadline for rookie extension contracts. And Dyson Daniels was a part of that. He was coming towards the last year of his rookie contract. So he was eligible for an extension. If they didn't get the deal done by 9 a.m. on Tuesday, he was going to have to wait until the end of the year, and he was probably going to enter restricted free agency. So, I think for both parties, it made sense to get this deal done. And you already referenced it, the $100 million US over the course of 4 years, so 25 by 4. It is an eye-watering number. But it is also worth noting, to your point, that is around 76, 77 in terms of where it ranks in terms of salaries this season for NBA players. So we're talking about some serious, serious cash. And we are also talking about the fact that both of those guys, but particularly Dyson Daniels coming off the most improved player, second in Defensive Player of the Year.
Poked away. Dyson Daniels. He does it again.
A guy that is a legit, not just great talent on the Australian scale, but great talent, elite skill set defensively on the global scale. And he's only 22 years of age, so you would think that he's only going to get better.
As you say, he's such an interesting story. And when you consider it wasn't that long ago he was playing for the New Orleans Pelicans and was essentially traded out, how has his trajectory just shifted so rapidly to now find himself on that sort of money?
Yeah, it's interesting because we were actually live doing our Nothing But Net show on ESPN when the trade came through that he got traded from New Orleans to Atlanta. And my immediate reaction to that was this is going to be unbelievable for him because it was largely due to personnel. He was kind of buried in the rotation in New Orleans. Now, I think if the Pelicans had their time again, maybe they don't or try not to include Dyson Daniels in that trade because now he looks like a guy that is significantly better than what his value was at the time of the trade. But he was someone that just needed opportunity. He went to Atlanta playing alongside Trae Young, who is an all-star caliber talent, and he is an elite scorer.
Trae, a logo three. Oh, man.
Are you kidding me?
Whoa, they're talking about silencing the crowd.
But he's not a above-average defender. He's small. It's not really where he's made his money or perfected his craft on the defensive side of the ball. So for Dyson to fit alongside him, Dyson not necessarily a guy that needs the ball in his hands on offense as well. It was just a perfect fit. So you go to Atlanta, all of a sudden now you're getting 30-plus minutes a game rather than 15 minutes a night. So your production doubles. He was already an elite defender, but now he gets a chance to do it for extended periods, start with the Hawks, play against the best offensive players in the league, and he more than just held his own. He proved himself to be the best perimeter defender in the league.
And look at Dyson Daniels break up the play and come up with the basketball.
Yeah, part of it was opportunity, and it is a good lesson when you talk about the careers of these guys, because Josh Giddey is the same. OKC, he was great in his first 2 seasons, but he kind of just got lost in the shuffle. That is obviously an incredibly talented Thunder rotation that went on to win the title the year after they traded Giddey, but it worked out great for him as well because then he got an opportunity to play a lot, an opportunity to start in Chicago, and now they're both $100 million men, which sounds pretty damn nice to me.
Josh Giddey's situation was kind of interesting because Chicago somewhat dragged their heels on that contract, ultimately bit the bullet and paid him. Now, is he essentially the face of the Chicago Bulls outfit?
Yeah, the Bulls are interesting because they really just have not had a lot of success over the last 2 and a bit decades. A couple of runs they had there, some injury luck. Didn't go their way when Derrick Rose was an MVP, but they've kind of been stuck on the treadmill. They've had these experienced veteran players that are good, but not good enough to get you over the top, and incomplete players when you think about guys like DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic. So now they're kind of turning their attention to the younger core, and Josh Giddey is one of those guys, as you pointed to. But then you also have Kobe White is someone that they like. Their first-round pick from last year, Martas Bazalis, is coming into his second year, and he looks like an intriguing talent. So I think a lot of Chicago Bulls fans are probably just glad that finally the franchise is saying, all right, let's focus on the young core. Let's do this build the right way, not try and go in for the easy fix.
Bulls are out of timeouts. 2 seconds left. Giddey for the win. Go! Oh, my God! I cannot believe this. Elizabeth, I'm coming, baby. Oh, Lord. Unbelievable. Impossible. Magic Giddey. Good day, mate.
I think for both of these guys, Giddey and Daniels, Josh Giddey, 23, Dyson Daniels, 22, they signed the 4-year deals, which means that when they are unrestricted free agents at the ages of 26, 27 years of age, they're only just going to be coming into their prime, but they've got significant development still ahead of them. And I know it sounds crazy to say right now, but they have a real opportunity to make sure that their next contract is significantly more than this $100 million now. So this is nice security for them now, obviously life-changing money. But both of those guys would believe that they can get a lot better.
Just from a broader NBA perspective, Kane, some really intriguing storylines, particularly with LeBron James and Luka Doncic getting their first full season together at the Los Angeles Lakers. Do you see those two huge stars combining to actually be relevant in the overall championship picture?
Well, it's so unique because LeBron, obviously, into his 40s now, 2+ decades playing in the league. And we've all been asking the question for a number of years now. How long can LeBron play at this level? How long can his health carry him through? Because he's been the absolute Iron Man, really, in the history of the NBA. But, he's going to miss the first few weeks of the season. He's dealing with some sciatica issues at the moment. And that does mean that even if the Lakers already thought this to start, now Luka Doncic, this is his team. He's going to have to take the keys. We have seen him carry a team before in the past. And like you said, last year he gets traded in one of the most shocking moments in NBA history halfway through the season.
What a blockbuster to drop on a Saturday night. But nonetheless, here we are. Luka Doncic going to the Lakers. Anthony Davis going to the Dallas Mavericks. What's your reaction?
I'm shocked. I'm shocked like most, if not the entire basketball world appears to be. It's not something that you would have ever anticipated, primarily from the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic is a global star.
He had to wrap his head around that. This team had to wrap their head around the fact that they were able to get Luka Doncic. But now he's had the full offseason to do it, and he looks like he's ready to have a revenge season. And everything that we hear out of the Lakers, when you speak to reporters, when you hear the coaches discussing what it looks like, they're also saying that Luka Doncic has taken a significant step from a leadership perspective. He wants to own this team. He wants to be the leader alongside LeBron when he's back there. So yeah, I think they've got pretty good depth in this Lakers team.
No, I said this the other day. Luka, he just feels more like himself on a daily basis, and that's a good thing for our team.
But ultimately, like most of these contending teams, it just feels a little bit different with the Lakers because of the age of LeBron. Health is going to be a big part of this. But if both of those guys are healthy come May, when this team is, I'm hoping to be still in the postseason ranks, they're going to scare a lot of teams for sure.
What about the storied but seemingly never successful New York Knicks? I mean, they sacked the coach that took them so deep last year. They've hired Mike Brown. Are they finally going to break through?
The East is so interesting because when you think about the Eastern Conference and what it's looked like over the last 6 or 7 years, it's really been the same teams that we've constantly talked about potentially contending, and the Boston Celtics have been part of that. The Milwaukee Bucks have been a part of that. The Miami Heat as well went to the NBA Finals twice, even if the last year or so had probably been down years for them. But those were the three teams. And then Philadelphia was always the team on the outside. They haven't been able to get beyond the second round, but they've had Joel Embiid. They've had a number of stars. In theory, they should have been a team that was ready to contend. So it was really those four teams. And then the Pacers have sort of been around that mark as well. This is the first year that we come into the season not really expecting any of those five teams to win the title, which means that it is wide open. And it's the Cleveland Cavaliers who were the number one seed last year. And it's the Knicks, as you pointed to, that went all the way to the conference finals for the first time in a very, very long time. And they weren't able to get over the hump. But now, second year with this core Knicks starting five that they've got that includes Karl Anthony Towns. They've improved the depth. And you mentioned the head coach. It'll be interesting with Mike Brown, although he has got a history in his previous stops that he's been to as a head coach in the NBA, that his first year, the team always gets significantly better. So maybe if you're a Knicks fan, you're hoping to get that Mike Brown bump again. But this team should be an awesome offensive team, and they've got more improved depth, which hopefully means that these starters won't be as worn down by the time the postseason comes around.
Just finally, the reigning champs, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they are warm favourites to go back-to-back. Who do you see as the team most likely to dethrone them?
Man, they look so good. And we were so fortunate, obviously, to cover the team right throughout the playoffs. And the Thunder is just so unique because you don't normally see a title-winning team that the core, the majority of the core, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP, he's now 26, 27 years of age. But the rest of the team, the rest of the best players on this team are 25 or younger. And you just never see that. So in theory, those players should be getting better. They did not have a healthy Chet Holmgren through last year. So I understand why the Thunder are the favorites, but I still like the Denver Nuggets. I liked the Nuggets last year. They have now found more help for Nikola Jokic. They bring in Cam Johnson. You're hoping that Jamal Murray is going to have a bigger season. Christian Brown also signed a 5-year, $125 million contract yesterday before that rookie extension deadline. So I like the depth in Denver. I trust Jokic. The guy is just the biggest cheat code in the league. He can do absolutely everything you could possibly imagine, for a 7-footer, from shooting to facilitating.
Jokic going to heave, and count of it goes. Yes! Nikola Jokic! What can't this man do? Absolutely nothing.
To me, with that home court advantage in Denver, as long as the Nuggets can be the 2 seed, the Thunder be the 1 seed, they avoid each other in the postseason, I think that this absolutely could be the Western Conference Finals this year.
Kane Pitman, thanks so much for pulling it all apart. Appreciate it.
Anytime, mate.
Headlines. Day one is done in the NBA. It was OKC, victorious by 1 point in double OT over Houston in Oklahoma. The Golden State Warriors also beat the LeBron-free Lakers 119-109, despite 43 points from Luka Doncic. The social media output of cat star Bailey Smith has raised eyebrows in the AFL industry. I mean, the clearest example was his posting on Mad Monday that many took as disrespectful to journalist Caroline Wilson. Is there an issue here? Geelong coach Chris Scott isn't necessarily convinced. He outlined his thoughts today.
If you sort of separate out sort of the off-field issues, that's probably the best way to describe it. If we sort of think through how the last 12 months have gone with Bailey, it's been an outrageous success. Outrageous. Not perfect, but if you are privy to some of the information with a whole range of our players, I think it's likely that that's going to be a similar sort of description, that some bits have gone really, really well, and there are other bits that we've sort of got to nudge and manage a little bit.
Scott was asked about the matter while promoting the AFL's Origin return, where he is coaching Victoria. Mark Nwangane to Aussies is going to get the chance to represent the Kangaroos. Dual international status is loading for the Roosters winger. He was named in the Aussie side to take on England this weekend at Wembley. And he's not the only player making his debut. Reece Walsh is starting at fullback as he continues to bask in the afterglow of a Clive Churchill medal performance in a victorious grand final. Gemat Shibasaki, Keon Kolomatangi, they are the other debutants for the tourists. Personally, I'm excited to see Cleary and Munster reuniting in the halves. That feels like the perfect kind of rugby league yin and yang. Cricket, where Elisa Healy's been on an absolute heater at the Women's World Cup. So it absolutely sucks that she's picked up a calf injury ahead of the clash with England. Talia McGrath will skip her in her absence in a game that will determine which team emerges from the round-robin stage as number one seed. Beth Mooney's taking over the wicket-keeping duties, and Healy is now in an old-fashioned race against the clock to be ready for the semi-finals and hopefully the grand final of the ODI World Cup. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily, produced by Poppy Penny. Thanks to NBA, FanDuel, ESPN for the extra audio used in this episode.
Discover more great ABC podcasts, live radio and exclusives on the ABC Listen app.